Hey there, welcome to Mike's Collection. I'm Mike.
I'm Chad.
And this is episode 192. And today, the part of our collection that we're going to be talking about is basically just some of the new stuff that we bought in the past week or so, and a couple other odds and ends. What do you want to start with? You've got something with you, right, that you brought with you?
Yes, I do. So I have a Mezco toy from the 112 line. It's Batman Supreme Knight. A little backstory.
Now, is this the Big Bad Toy Story?
This is the Big Bad Toy Store story.
Yeah, so if you guys watch my videos at all regularly, I kind of promote Big Bad on the regular just because that's where I buy a lot of my stuff. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you today I got from Big Bad Toy Store. I've been shopping from them for years and have had relatively good experiences, but Chad told me he had a bad experience. And so he was going to tell me about it the other day, and I was like, save it for the show.
Yeah.
So let's hear your Big Bad story.
So this action figure was available for pre-order in early 2019. So basically what happened is sometimes you get like random messages on your Facebook like, hey, check out this toy from like Big Bad Toy Store. Essentially advertisements.
Just because I've never reviewed any 112, just to give... I always talk to my audience like they're idiots, even though I know they're not. I always feel the need to like over-explain things. But if you're not familiar with the 112 line, it's like... So 112 refers to the scale of the figure, meaning it's a 6-inch figure. So 112 scale to a real human being would be that. And they're very high-end. Like for me, most of my 6-inch action figures are like $30 range, and they're all plastic. And then if you get into the 12-inch collectible dolls, those are from companies like Hot Toys and Sideshow. Those things can get up to about $200 to $300, and they're pretty expensive and very high-end. They have like tailored cloth clothing and all that stuff. So this 112 line came out a couple of years ago, and it's kind of the middle ground. These figures are like $100-ish bucks.
We'll talk about the price of this.
But yeah, I think generally they're around the $100 range. And they
American.
American. Yeah. They have cloth outfits, lots of detail. Yeah. So they're very high end for a 6-inch figure, not like all the other stuff I usually show you. So go.
So basically, what happened is there was an advertisement for this new Batman figure, and I was like, fantastic! I'm going to pre-order that, and it had like a first quarter 2020 release date. So it's like perfect. The figure that I pre-ordered was $130 American, which convert that to Canadian dollars. And shipping on top of that, we're looking at a pretty penny. It was just shy of $180 by the time everything was said and done.
Okay.
So 2020 comes along and boom, pandemic. So a lot of the toy companies shut down, shipping was bottlenecked, everything was up in the air. So I got an email from Big Bad Toy Store saying that the shipment would be delayed because of the pandemic and shipping issues and everything and importing of the toys. So I was like, okay, well, that's whatever. So around July, I got another email saying, hey, your toy has been shipped. I was like, fantastic. All right. 6 weeks later, I get the box, and I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait. So I open it up. I'm not even paying attention to the box. There's a nice little slip cover.
Yeah.
It has the accessories and the figure, so that's what the figure looks like. And I open the box, which also has the 112 logo there.
Yeah, that little bug character, he's like their mascot. They actually make toys of him, too.
I pull it out, and I look at it, and I was like, that's not what I pre-ordered.
I see.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it, I open it up, and I was like, mother effer, this is not what I pre-ordered.
What is
So this is a Supreme Knight, and I don't really know a lot about this character. He is kind of slightly based off the Frank Miller artwork. Because he's got that plastic.
Well, he's got this plastic, and even the other faces, they're all covered in this kind of waxy plastic. It's very hard to see the details of it. So I don't know how you can even necessarily... At a glance, I can't tell what Batman is.
So I actually lifted the plastic out and looked at him, and it's not the toy that I ordered. So what I ordered was, I don't know the proper pronunciation of the company. It's Mafex.
Okay. But this toy is this toy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I ordered a Batman Mafex Hush figure.
Okay.
Now, Hush is one of my favorite storylines in the DC universe, specifically around Batman. Mm-hmm. So I was super psyched for this toy, and I had waited almost 2 years for this to come out.
Yep.
And I was kind of pissed off because I think it was like $180 Canadian. Didn't get what I wanted.
So on your emails, everything, your website, it says you pre-ordered the Hush?
It says you pre-ordered the Hush. And I'll send you a picture so you can do a cutaway of the actual toy that I pre-ordered. So the next day, I emailed Big Bad Toy Store, and I was like, what happened? And the guy was like, oh, hang on, I'll have to look into that and get back to you.
Yeah.
So he said there was an error with the shipment, and part of the figures were sent out, and then a certain population of other pre-orders got this figure. And I was like, well, that's terrible, because I think my figure, even though it was a little cheaper...
Yeah. So they just ran out of those, so they sent people these in place?
That's what I'm guessing. So I was kind of angry at that. And I was like, well, what do I do? I don't want this figure. And the guy was like, well, you can send it back to us, and then when we receive it, we'll issue you a refund. And I was like, well, what about the other figure? He was like, we technically don't have them in stock anymore. And I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
So then I said, well, is there any way I can get the refund first? Because I don't want to send this off, pay for the shipping, and then because we're still in the pandemic, who knows what's going to happen. You might not get it. I might not get that money back for like a couple months. And the guy was like, no, that's how we do things. So you'd have to ship it back, and then we'll issue you the refund. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to keep it. I'll keep it because it's really...
But you haven't bothered to open it, even though you...
No, I did. I don't have space to put them anywhere right now anyway, but I was just kind of sour. And then when you always talk about like Big Bad Toy Store and how great they are. Now, they do have fantastic toys, but that experience really soured me.
That sounds. I agree. That sounds terrible from any store that would do that.
Like the Hush figure was Batman on sort of this rooftop with a gargoyle. He had this little back display, and he had a posable cape and everything, and kind of annoying.
Like I said, I don't deny that that sure that happened, but like my experience over the past 10 years has been good. I was telling you the other day how I used to, before I did YouTube, I had a toy blog, and for about a year or so, Big Bad Toy Store was a sponsor. Like, I was a complete nobody on my blog. I didn't have all that much traffic, but I emailed them and I said, I have a toy blog. Do you guys want to sponsor me? And they said, sure. They put a banner on my site. Every month they would send me a new banner to upload with the newest toys, and they would give me like $10 credit a month just to have their banner up there. And one particularly like good experience, because otherwise they send me what I order, and that's not is that really good customer service? That's just them doing what they're supposed to do. But there was a time when I had pre-ordered a toy, and it was like months and months out, and it was for one of these third-party Transformers, which is one of those like kind of unofficial, unlicensed Transformers, and it was an expensive one. It was like, I want to say $100 or something US, and I pre-ordered it and waited the like 6, 7, 8 months for it to arrive. And then it was in stock. They shipped it to me, and I got it, and I had the thing for about a week or two, and then they had their like Christmas sale on, and that guy went from being $100 to like $40, and I emailed them, and I was like, guys, I pre-ordered that thing like a year ago, but you guys literally just got it in stock and shipped it to me like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm like, is there any way you could like kind of match the price that you got on? And they said, yeah, sure, and they credited me back the $60. So I thought that was pretty good, because they definitely didn't have to do that. So again, I've had good experiences, but yeah, that sucks.
That does suck. And I can't say that like I'm disappointed with the figure, because I did a little research, and like the back of the slip cover, I would probably display him with sort of a more angrier looking face there. Oops.
Yeah.
Right here.
Can I just say, I know in my introduction I just said, so these are those 6-inch figures, just like everything else I buy.
looks
But
similar.
now that I'm looking, this is the first time I've ever really seen one of these 112 figures in hand, and he seems really small to me. Like it's not so much the height, because like you can see his toes are here, and his head's here. Like he's clearly, I've got a 6-inch figure we're going to talk about later, but like he's 6 inches. But especially you just looking at the picture on the back of that box, I always thought these figures looked a lot thicker. Like I thought they were really girthy. Yeah, I thought I'd be holding it and be like, ugh. But he doesn't look girthy. He looks really small. So I'd be very disappointed, even if it was the figure I ordered. I think I'd get him and I'd be like, oh, is that all he is?
So, like, my rationale for kind of keeping him was, I do like the Frank Miller version of Batman. He's probably my favorite iteration of him. So, where there's a little bit of resemblance,
that's what I also wanted to ask you. Because I saw that picture and I thought, well, this is Batfleck.
Yeah,
but
it's not.
It's not Batfleck?
And I don't know too much about the Supreme Knight because it's not something I ever followed.
Because Ben Affleck's Batman was kind of based on Frank Miller's
yeah.
drawings, who was a girthier Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he kind of looks like Frank Miller's. He kind of looks like Ben Affleck, but not quite either. And like he comes with an old man head,
which I would never display him with.
Which that looks like in for those of you who don't know Frank Miller's Dark Knight, it was about an old ass Batman that was kind of coming out of retirement. So the old man head kind of indicates that this is supposed to be Dark Knight. I don't know what Supreme Knight is. Is that just the name maybe they gave for like the ultimate version of Frank Miller's Dark Knight?
I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay, well. He's small, but from what I can see of him, and the picture on the back of the box, it looks like a cool toy.
Yeah, there's lots of accessories, and I mean, I'm not one to kind of display my figures with a ton of accessories. I sort of started doing what you do, and you have like this bag of toys that disappear, and you're never going to see them again.
Yeah, I have a bin in front of us that I have the microphone propped up on, and it's literally a big plastic tote bin that's just full of extra hands, blast effects, just all kinds of silly accessories that I don't need.
So maybe if we have time later, we can open them up and
that's cool.
do a review on them. I don't know. That's my story.
Because here's the thing, I've been curious about these 112 figures. Because the thing is, like, I have a few of the 12-inch Hot Toys, and they're amazing. Like, I have fewer than 10. I've got maybe 7 of them or something. And they are amazing quality for action figures. Like, my all-time favorite movie is The Crow. So I have this Brandon Lee Crow figure. And the detail they get into his face, you can see, like, the pores on his face. And his eyes look alive because they have, like, this sheen on them. They kind of follow you around the room almost. Like, they're really amazing. But after I got a couple of them, I just kind of learned 12 inch is just not my scale. Like, they're kind of cool in the glass case. But even if you told me I can give you life size, like a 6-foot Crow figure that's going to look just like you have the real Brandon Lee in your house, that's cool. But like, I don't want a 12-inch Brandon Lee. I wouldn't want all my He-Men to be 12 feet tall. Like, 6 inches is a nice, collectible, easily handleable, affordable scale. So I like the Hot Toys. I totally appreciate what they are. But I don't have a whole bunch of them, not so much because of the cost, but it's because it's just not my scale of choice. And so then when they put these out, and it was like, this is a 6-inch version of the Hot Toy, I thought, well, maybe should I get into these? Are these worthwhile? And I've talked about it on here a lot. You're well aware. But my whole channel was inspired by a channel I used to watch called Nerd Out.
Yeah.
And one of the guys on Nerd Out was super into these for a little while. And almost every episode he was like unboxing and reviewing a new one. And I was really thinking, like, he was kind of hyping me up, and I was like, man, I should really get into these. I didn't. And looking at this one here now, it's deterring me. I'm like, he's skinnier than I thought. I'm like, I don't think he's worth $100 plus to me. Maybe if we do open him up, maybe I'll feel differently. But yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the size, and I think I'll stick with my $30 Marvel Legends.
Yeah, and I mean, for the amount of hype that they had around that Hush figure, it's very disappointing to not get what I ordered. And it was a limited run, I guess, based on what the guy told me. So it's really disappointing to not get that.
And these things have been around for how many years now, would you say? Six years? I don't know. So I was saying, in that time, they've put out a lot of figures, a lot of different brands. Like, they do DC, but they've also done, like, the Universal Monsters.
They do
done
some anime
Marvel
stuff,
superheroes. They've done movies. So they've done lots of things. And I've been tempted by a few. But there's 2 recent ones that are not even out yet. There's 2 that are up for sale now. I think one of them is supposed to arrive in... Like, Big Bad has it for pre-order. I think it says arriving June 2022. So it could be in stock anytime. But it is the Crow.
Yeah.
And it looks amazing, very lifelike. And I almost... But I'm thinking, like, I already have the 12-inch. Like, what do I need this 6-inch one for? But the 6-inch one does come with, like, a translucent flame effect in the shape of a crow from when he lights the Crow logo on fire. And he comes with a couple extra cool things that, like, I would consider a lot of these accessories kind of junk because we throw them in the bin afterwards.
Yep.
But the Crow comes with stuff I would actually display him with, like with the flame effect. You could display that around his feet. I think he's got that stained glass kind of window you could display behind him. He's got the Crow on a stand. Like, it's a lot of, like, actual worthwhile stuff. So I was tempted by the Crow, but I still don't think I'm going to do it. And then just recently they announced a comic-based Green Goblin figure, which we talked about Green Goblin recently, him being one of my all-time favorite characters ever. So yeah, I was thinking of getting that too, but again, this one is kind of telling me I shouldn't bother.
I know, and I take a lot of flack from some of my friends about collecting toys, because they're for kids. Just so you know, this says, not a toy for children, ages 18 and up.
Yeah, these are adult collectibles.
They're adult collectibles. It says that right on the box. Yeah, and like on the box, they kind of show little compartments. He's got a bunch of little batarangs there, so I'm really hoping you can fit them in these pouches. Otherwise, why do I need 7, 8 batarangs?
Yeah,
tiny ones when he's got a couple larger ones.
Like, I have one of the Hot Toys. I have the 12-inch ones is the Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah,
and he comes with a deck of playing cards. Like they're all like individual playing cards. So they're just like this small. And again, I guess it's neat, but such an easy thing to lose.
Yep.
And yeah, sometimes it's just overkill with the accessories. All right, well, there you go. So that is, and I don't know if we're going to open it and review it or not. Depends on how much time we have tonight. But if we do, we'll probably splice that in right around here.
All right. So we're going to start with the unboxing of the Supreme Knight here. It's kind of got 2 layers to it. There go all the accessories if they're not in there. Perfect. Oh, it looks like it is a wired cape, so that gets rid of some of the disappointment I had. So that might be the head that I display him with. He's kind of got that angry look on him. And here is the old man head. Got this neat little buzz cut going on. And here is the figure. So already I can tell, well, he's got 2 capes. So that's interesting. So yeah, I think based on our conversation, Mike, he does look a little tiny. He is 6-inch scale, but he's not as girthy as I thought he would be based on the box. He's got some really good articulation there. Okay, so his costume is made out of a fabric. So I do like that. The knee pads are kind of separate from the boots. He's got some ankle joints that are swiveling around.
You look cool.
He's okay.
He's small.
He's definitely small. He's got some spaces here that looks like he can hold his guns and stuff. He comes with a pulse cannon and his grappling hook.
Yeah, now while you were fiddling around with the figure, I got all the accessories out.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
So he's got a whole variety of stuff here.
So his cape is kind of, feels like it's made of 2 fabrics. But this one isn't posable, so...
You gotta take that plastic off. It looks like he's at the barber shop waiting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pop his head off. So he's... Oh, it's a magnetic head. That's interesting.
Okay, that's cool.
Interesting. So that's how the head stays on. It's magnetic. Oh, wow, that's powerful. So I don't know. I kind of like the closed mouth Batman over the toothy Batman.
You gotta get used to the camera placement. It takes a while to get used to.
I don't know. What head do you like better?
The camera's like here.
Yeah.
Here, let's move Batman back a little bit. I think kind of like the clothes now.
Yeah, I would probably take the cape that he came with off, and if I was to use that stand for like a kind of flying Batman, I would put this textured wired cape and kind of...
Yeah,
you
that
see,
cape's
you can
cool.
pose it.
It's a very exaggerated kind of cape. Like something McFarlane would draw.
Yeah, I'm a big McFarlane fan for his capes because he's got some pretty cool ones. But anyways, that's kind of the cape there. So maybe I will see if I can switch that out. So, thoughts on the utility belt. It doesn't look like it's going to hold any of the batarangs, which is kind of disappointing because, as you can see here, he's got 10 batarangs, and there is nowhere to put them. You can use his different hands.
Got like a triple batarang. That must be for his hand, maybe?
Yeah, interesting. So he's got like different hands. Open hands. Some gripping hands. So this is probably the one that you're going to put as either pulse cannon or grappling hook in. Here's this pulse cannon.
So here he is next to some other 6-inch scale Batman. So that is my Ed McGuinness Batman from DC Collectibles, and this is my Darwin Cook style Batman. So yeah, size-wise, girth-wise, he's really not much different than... I really expected him to be much more imposing.
Mm-hmm.
He almost looks squatty compared to the other
guys.
guys.
I was going to say that. It's almost like his boots make him look a lot smaller because it's kind of broken up into the boot, and then he's got the knee pads on, and I don't know why he has knee pads. These other ones don't, and I don't think any of my other Batman figures have knee pads, so maybe it's just because he's old at this point.
Logically, a Batman should wear knee pads.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say that the one selling point of this figure for me is that his suit is made of fabric. I like the articulation when you're moving him, how you can see the fabric move as well. I think that's a really nice added component instead of just being like hard plastic.
Do you get a sense of, when I see that material, I'd be worried about it maybe deteriorating over time. Does it feel like good quality? Like even if you don't play with him, if he sits on a shelf for 5 years, is that material of his suit going to like rot away, do you think, or does it feel okay?
I think it feels okay. It's, I don't know how to classify it. It's like a rubberized fabric. So I hope for the price I paid for it that it doesn't deteriorate, but I don't know. I'd like to say it would. The cape is what worries me because it's almost like it's made out of two different fabrics. Like the inside is a softer kind of fabric. The outside is like a fake rubbery plastic. I do like that it is a wired cape, which does redeem it for me a little bit, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm still kind of torn on this. I think in general I'm just disappointed because it's not what I wanted. I think the Hush figure would have been a lot better. Definitely looked like it had more articulation. I mean, he moves around quite a bit. He doesn't really have a torso crunch. Like, you only... That's going to annoy me. He can only kind of move this far, so that's not a lot. He does have some good flexibility, though, so maybe I might actually use the flight stand and kind of have him displayed like he's in a jumping fashion and Might do like a Superman punch or something with a flying sidekick.
Now, one thing that I was just thinking of as you were playing with him there, and again, you've got him way off screen, is so we just compared him to a couple of DC Direct Batman. So those Batmans are 6 inches. This guy is in that 6-inch scale, and he still seemed a little short.
Okay.
Now, you collect all the modern McFarlane figures.
Yes.
And they are scaled larger, more like 7 inches. So I've got a couple. So here is a McFarlane Batman.
That is the White Knight Batman, I believe.
And here I've got a Flash, too.
The Flash is definitely taller than him, though, so... Yeah. You can tell. McFarlane's kind of got... They're advertised as 7-inch, but I don't find they're always 7-inch. Yeah, I don't know. Final verdict, I guess, on this toy. It's not what I wanted. It doesn't do it for me, so I'm a little disappointed. But it is nice to have a figure that has a cape that can be articulated, and I can display him with that flight stand doing some pretty cool poses that I'll leave up to my imagination, but like size-wise, it's a little underwhelming, and I would have liked if the utility belt would have had some openings to put those batarangs in. Otherwise, I'm just stuck with 10 loose batarangs, a couple larger batarangs that are probably gonna go in my bag of accessories that will never see the light of day again. So yeah. Anyways, sorry for the kind of awkward camera work. My first time doing an actual unboxing and review where I'm not looking at it face forward. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Mike, I guess, and you can hit some of your toys now.
But yeah, so last episode we talked about the Hasbro, was it Pulse Days sale? What did they call it? Yeah.
How much was that sale again?
40% off. Yeah, so Hasbro had a sale on their website where pretty much every toy they've produced in the past year was 40% off, and I'd already bought 100 of them, and so I didn't need them. So it was a fantastic sale for anybody that had patience to wait. But for somebody like me who tends to impulse buy things as soon as they're available, I'm still like seething at the amount of money I lost. But we decided to order a few things. Like, there was tons of great stuff. I just had most of it already, but there was a couple of things that I could order, and I called you to say, do you want to like order anything on here? And we could kind of lump our shipping together. And so yeah, that stuff arrived. Was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Yes. Yeah. Last Wednesday, I want to say.
And it didn't even dawn on me until actually today. But so I was texting him, I said, our stuff came today on like Wednesday or whatever it was. And you're like, oh, that was fast. And I was like, yeah. And then you said, we'll have to get together on Monday and we'll do an episode and we'll review it. I said, sure. And then Friday, you said, hey man, do you want to go Toys R Us and just go out shopping together? And I said, sure. So I went and met you. We went to Toys R Us. We'll talk about that later if we have time. And then I got home and I realized, oh, I wonder if he was expecting me to bring him his toys. Like,
no,
I didn't even. It hadn't even dawned on me. I was like, I didn't even bring it to him. But
no, that never crossed my mind. I knew we were going to shoot tonight anyway, so
okay,
it's not a big deal. I wouldn't have even had time to look at them. So.
All right, so let's. So you haven't really seen these guys yet?
No, I haven't.
So here is your Greedo.
Awesome. So this is weird that it's the Black Series. I think you talked about that before, how they started going back to like the retro style packaging.
Yeah, like the Black Series are the 6-inch Star Wars figures, and most of them come in like a little box that's very underwhelming. It's just like a black box. There's kind of a soft like black and white graphic of the character on the side, but they're pretty plain, and so which I kind of like because I have no trouble throwing them in the garbage.
Right.
But yeah, sometimes they take those previously released figures and now they're putting them on these kind of retro style cards, and so you get a new figure. And the funny thing about this Greedo, this retro style card per se, like it's like it says 50 years of Lucasfilm. That's kind of what they're celebrating. But this packaging is a throwback to like the 2000, like the late 90s 2000 packaging. So it's just funny because I'm used to toys that are coming out now Usually when they do retro packaging, it's like retro packaging harkening back to the 80s.
Yeah.
Like when I was a little kid. So it's weird to see them doing, this is retro packaging back from when you were like 20 years old. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Makes me feel old. But it does bring back a lot of memories because I remember when those toys were all over the pegs in the 3 3/4 inch scale. And I bought that Greedo, the 3 3/4 inch Greedo, and I still have it.
Greedo was one of my favorites. Who shot first?
Han.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being snaky.
So, yeah. What do you think?
Nice toy. We actually don't need to play with the articulation or anything because you've reviewed them before.
But it would have been like this. Honestly, that guy there, I've had that figure for so many years now. I probably got it before I ever even had a YouTube channel set up. So I probably haven't reviewed this figure per se. But here he is. But hold on to him for a sec. So yeah, so here's my Greedo. So when I bought this one, it would have been in the standard black box. They actually did release another version of him shortly afterwards where he came in a 2-pack with Han Solo and they were sitting in the cantina. Which might have been cool if any of it was, like if you could have taken the table and the seats and kind of used it as a display, but it was literally the 2 figures in a cardboard box, so like it was all cardboard junk that you... Anyway, so I was wondering when I ordered this Greedo, I could tell they were pretty close to the same, but I didn't know if they were the exact same. They're not exact.
No.
But it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
It's the same, as far as I can tell, all the same sculpted pieces, but your guy has a bit of a darker wash.
Yeah, I noticed that. He's...
Like, everything about him is just like a shade darker. I don't know, this isn't interesting for them to look at, but here, look. I don't know if you'll be able to capture it on screen, but like... So they're the same, but like... The pants, where my guy's has a cleaner green to yellow, his has got kind of this darker... Just, it's faint. It's not super noticeable. Definitely not enough for me to say, well, I need both versions. Yeah. But, yeah. It's a nice figure. I always liked Greedo too.
Yeah.
Although, I'm going to kind of segue away from our Hasbro sale for just 1 second.
Sure, for sure.
So anybody that knows Star Wars toys knows that when the first toy line came out in the 80s, so Kenner produced those toys, they didn't have the final models for a lot of these figures. Like, my understanding is that, like, Lucasfilm would send them over maybe some still images from the set and say, we're making these characters. But maybe you only had a still image of the character's head or just from the waist up. So Kenner had to fill in the blanks about like what a character looked like. So for example, one of like my all-time favorite Star Wars character is Walrus Man.
Yeah.
Which I know you can't see him all that well, but back here I have a jumbo version of the vintage Kenner figure. And so on the artwork you see what he actually looked like in the movie, which is kind of an ugly, gray-skinned with big tusks. But then when the figure came out, they put him in like an orange bathing suit, gave him like webbed feet, and he's got this pea green head. Like, it's very inaccurate. But those inaccurate early Kenner figures really kind of, like, that's what I grew up playing with. And I loved, like, as much as I had seen Star Wars, I played with my toys more. And so I still see, when I think Walrus Man, I think of the Kenner toy.
Yeah.
And so I have the Greedo. So here is my old Greedo. Back from, 1979 or whenever this figure might have come out. I can't see the date on him, but anyway. So that's how I remember Greedo. I kind of like him in this green onesie. It's not quite film accurate. It's not as inaccurate as Walrus Man, but it's close. But anyway, the only reason I mention that is because they actually just recently released this figure again, painted in this bright kind of neon green. But it was exclusive to Amazon or somewhere, and I wasn't able to get it when they first went out, and I was disappointed because I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't buy that Greedo because it's way too similar to this one, but I would have definitely bought the neon Greedo. I thought he was a lot of fun, so disappointed I didn't get him. But all right, I'll call back to that in a moment. But all right, so let's go back to our Hasbro sale. So you also got the Hobgoblin from the Spider-Man Retro.
Yes. Now, the Hobgoblin, Mike and I kind of back and forth about over this figure. Just the face wasn't quite comic accurate. I don't know. I was kind of up in the air about it, and then we talked about it, and then, of course, when the 40% sale came on, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get him now. That's fine. But he was probably my favorite Goblin.
Well, see, like, I love the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
He was a character that was introduced a little bit before I started collecting comic books. But when I did start collecting comic books, he was still, like, kind of the new kid on the block. And his identity was a mystery. They'd done all kind of red herrings, and they're like, is it Flash Thompson? Is it this guy? You didn't know who the Hobgoblin was. So when I started collecting comic books at 8 years old, it was right in the middle of the who is the Hobgoblin saga. And the Green Goblin was my favorite character from when I was a little kid, from the cartoons and stuff. And so when I started buying comic books, my favorite character, the Green Goblin, was dead. But now there was this new mysterious goblin. So I very quickly kind of just, shifted my love over to this guy. And I love that character as well. Now, if you see on the back of that packaging there, if I may for a moment.
Sure.
So this Spider-Man retro line, you see it's got Spider-Man, Black Suit Spider-Man, Armor Spider-Man, Hammerhead, and Shocker, as well as the Hobgoblin. Now, if you've seen my past videos, I've got all these figures and I've reviewed all the figures. The only one I didn't get was the Hobgoblin.
Because of the face.
And it's because of that face. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I think it's terrible. I think it's a terrible face. And the thing is, it's not like I would not buy this and not have a Hobgoblin in my collection. Of course, I would buy it if I needed a Hobgoblin. But just a couple of years ago, they released this Hobgoblin. And so if you can see him here, this isn't really cartoon-based. It's supposed to be more based on his comic book look. And so with this toy, it's supposed to be based on the cartoon, but they kept the exact same head. So the other changes they made is, you see on my guy's arms and legs, he's got that textured chainmail, so you can feel that when you run your finger over it, and it's got kind of this metallic blue, where this guy here doesn't have the chainmail.
It's just the paint.
It's smooth. Does your guy not have a... Oh, okay. My guy's satchel is brown. His satchel's off to the side here. It's purple. The cape. My guy's cape is all torn and weathered. This guy's cape... his is as well. I thought maybe they cleaned up his cape, but they didn't. So that's kind of lazy of them. But anyway, I didn't need this figure because it's not enough of a change. The changes they did make, I think, are inferior. Like, I like them better with the chainmail than without.
Yeah.
But if they had given him a new head, I would have bought this in a second.
And I mean, again, I probably wouldn't have bought him full price, but the price was right at 40% off, so it was... I don't have a Hobgoblin. I just started collecting Marvel toys again.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to actually have something from the Spider-Man cartoon that I grew up watching in the 90s, the animated series.
Now, we talked about this... We were talking about Hobgoblins around the time you asked me to order that for you and stuff. Is I showed you a previous Marvel Legend Hobgoblin, which I'll stick a picture of it in here. Now, that figure came out several years ago before I was collecting Marvel Legends. And I think that is an amazing head sculpt for the Hobgoblin. That's exactly what I want my Hobgoblin figure to look like. I wish they would have re-released this figure with that style head. It just captures the character so much better than this thing. Although, I did want to haul some things out for comparison.
Sure.
So, when that cartoon was actually airing in the 90s, they actually did have toys available. Toy Biz made them. And so here is my Toy Biz Hobgoblin. I can get your guy in there. So this is the toy that one is kind of trying to homage. And I never liked this toy all that much either.
Like, his face looks weird.
But his face, even this face, I feel like it looks a little bit more like how he looked in the cartoon than like this one. Like, it looks how he looked in the cartoon. I didn't necessarily love how he looked in the cartoon so much, but anyway.
I don't know. For me, it just kind of looks like there's no distinction between his face and the hood on the toy. It's just like molded right to his head, whereas this one, at least you can see there's some spacing between like the cheeks and the top of the head by the widow's peak. But
another Hobgoblin toy I want to show you. So, as great as that Marvel Legends one was, that we don't have from a couple years ago, this is a toy I have from the original, like basically the first Marvel Superheroes line, essentially the Secret Wars toy line. So this figure is going back to the 80s. But like this Hobgoblin is, I think it's a killer head sculpt.
Yeah.
Like that head would be so much better on this figure.
You know what's funny, just looking at that, he kind of looks like Willem Dafoe there.
Yeah. Definitely see Willem Dafoe there. But Yeah, it's hard to capture the detail in the light there, but yeah, it's a really nice.
That's a nice.
Yeah, he holds up very well after all these years. It's still, of all the Hobgoblin figures I own, like I liked that one when I had this one in the 90s. I liked my one from the 80s better, and when I got this one in the 2000s, I liked that one better. I still think it's probably, if maybe dethroned by that other Hobgoblin that we don't have. Although that one had problems too. I thought the body was a little too scrawny, and he had. The reason I didn't collect Marvel Legends back then is because they were too articulated with their toes and their fingers, and they were too gangly. So even though it had an awesome head, I thought the body was still kind of weird. So, I don't know. That might still be the best Hobgoblin figure ever, in my opinion.
Funny how those hold up over time.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one of yours?
Sure.
All right, so this is the last one you asked me to pick up for you. So this is the Shocker from that same retro Spider-Man line.
And, yeah, so you reviewed a couple other Shockers.
Yeah. So here's that exact same figure that I have. So where I didn't have his exact Greedo or his exact Hobgoblin, I do have his exact Shocker. I bought it previously. So
for me, Shocker was kind of one of those interesting villains. Like, I don't know, he's not, for me, like one of his regular rogues, but like anytime I saw him in the cartoon, I was like, yeah, this is awesome, because I don't know, he was just different than the others, and you kind of hit on that when you reviewed the Shocker too, but I'm excited to have some of the Spider-Man toys in my line now. I was telling you last time we shot after the fact that I have the Kingpin with the purple pants, and J. Jonah in this line too, so. Yeah,
it's a good time for you to get, like, I'm kind of, anybody that started collecting any of the lines I collect now, they're kind of late to the party. For Star Wars Black Series, for Marvel Legends. But with these kind of retro lines they're doing, both in Black Series and Spider-Man, it's nice that you're able to get some of those characters that you would have missed out on. And if you're a fan of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, like they're redoing Hobgoblin, they got Rhino, Kingpin, Lizard is coming out. So like, you'll be able to get all those key characters that you know were released previously years ago and that you would have missed out on. Like Sandman, the retro Sandman was really nice that just came out. So
is that the one that you reviewed?
Yeah, because the previous Sandman was Build-A-Figure.
Yes.
And he was very big, and it just didn't feel like Sandman to me. Like, because Sandman can grow big, but he doesn't walk around as a big character. Right. Normally when he interacts with Spider-Man, they're like eye to eye. So I didn't like having this like 8-inch tall Sandman towering over my Spider-Man. And he was kind of, he was forced to have these big crazy sand appendages and stuff. Whereas now they made a 6-inch Sandman. I think it looks much better in the face and everything. And he's got interchangeable hands. It's just a much better figure. So, good time to get on board with retro Spider-Man. Now with Shocker, I don't know if you even know. Like, I had a Shocker that from a couple years ago. And with this figure, and I liked it just fine. But it's not his classic costume. It's more of a contemporary look. Yeah. So I was glad that they did release that one in its classic colors. Do you have a preference? Like, if this was the one that you would get, would you have bought it? Or are you really sold on the retro?
I'm sold on the retro one.
Now, a lot of people have an issue with, like, you'll notice this figure, he's got that cross-hatching all over his body. That one there, it's just sculpted. It's not actually painted, so you can't see the lines as clearly. What do you like better?
I like the paint on him there. I think it just makes him pop a little more.
I like that too. I think I kind of wish they did that on that figure, but it's not a deal breaker for me by any means.
And I'm like you. Like, you have certain figures that you'll purchase like every single time they release it. Mm-hmm. I can't really talk because I do the same with Batman. Like, you can only have so many Batman figures, and they still find a way to pump them out. But like, subtle differences like that don't always sell me on them. So I prefer this figure, but like you, I wish they would have had those painted on. Yeah.
So, besides the stuff we got from Hasbro, I did order a box from Big Bad Toy Store not too long ago. It was the one that I got all those Super 7 Transformers in, which I did a video of those 3 Transformers. But I did get a couple other miscellaneous toys in that shipment as well. Now, one of them, so when I said that Hasbro recently released an homage figure to the old Kenner Greedo. So when I started buying Star Wars Black Series a couple of years ago, like when they first started coming out, I already have a huge bin of Star Wars figures in the 3 3/4 that aren't even on display. They're just gathering dust in a bin. So when I started buying Star Wars again, I was like, I can't buy all these same characters again. But the 6-inch ones were just so like appealing. So I said, I'm just going to buy monsters and robots. I'm not going to buy even Luke Skywalker, Han Solo. I don't want a bunch of just guys in shirts and pants, like boring guys.
Yeah.
Like my 3 3/4-inch ones, I have a whole bunch of old guys in robes. You know, it's just like, I don't want to buy a bunch of human characters. So that was kind of my rule initially. Now, if you look at my Star Wars Black collection over there, you can see I broke that rule many times. Mm-hmm. I have lots of old men, you know, in robes. But I never did buy the first Obi-Wan figure. And I'm talking like New Hope, old man Obi-Wan. They released that figure very early on in the wave, or in the series, and I passed on. But, along with this Greedo, they released that figure again in classic Kenner colors.
Uh-oh.
And for whatever reason, because it was an Amazon exclusive as well, but it showed up on Big Bad a couple of weeks ago. And so I ordered it from Big Bad. So, this is Obi-Wan. And what you might be thinking is like, that looks ridiculous. He never wore that outfit. But to me, it's just something so nostalgic about it. Because the old toy, which unfortunately I no longer have. I had it when I was a kid. But he was just wearing this like reddish orange robe, which was not screen accurate at all. Because it was more of a dusty, faded brown in real life. But here they gave him this bright orange. Plus, when you bought this figure the first time it was released, I think he had... I think it might have even been a cloth tunic and cape and stuff here, or at the very least it was sculpted in plastic to look like it folded like realistically and all that stuff. But here you can see his cape is like just basically a rectangle of orange, like brown vinyl. Like it's not sculpted to look realistic at all. This thing that's tucked around his arms, and again that's because it's supposed to look like the vintage Kenner figure. So I don't know. It made me break my own rule of no more old men. And this was even more expensive than usual Black Series. This was kind of like marked up at a premium.
Of course.
But I couldn't help myself. I bought it. And I would have bought Greedo too if they had him. But they didn't for whatever reason.
That's a nice Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And it comes on a nice retro card.
Really nailed the face on that.
Yeah. I think the face... If I had bought this same figure in the movie accurate colors that would have come out, say, 5-6 years ago, the face wouldn't have looked nearly as good because they've really improved the digital paint work that they do nowadays. So yeah, I think that's a really nice face job. Yeah.
Surprised they wouldn't have given him like a cloth though, because I think there's a good deal of them that do have cloth.
But it's a throwback to the Kenner.
Robes, but it's a throwback.
It's got to be Kenner.
I know.
So yeah, but I think it's fun.
It's still nice. Yeah.
And I haven't decided if I'm probably going to open him, but yeah, I probably will. But
you can always do the little slit trick that you do too.
Yeah, I might do that. I don't know. But yeah, he's cool. And again, I'm probably not going to open him up and review him in this episode because I have so many Black Series figures piled up over here that I'm just going to do a whole episode on Black Series. The other thing I wanted to quickly divert about. So maybe a year or two ago, Hasbro started putting out these retro Star Wars figures. So these are brand new figures of new characters that didn't exist, 5-10 years ago. But they're doing it in the style to match up with the old Kenner figures. So like they're very simple in detail. They're sculpted as if these characters existed back in the day. I like them.
Yeah.
They ruined them by putting that giant retro sticker on the front. I don't know why they think anybody would want that there. But I didn't think I was going to go too deep on this line. So I bought Mandalorian and I bought Cara Dune. And I've had these figures now for quite some time, maybe a year or something. And I didn't open them because I thought these are just going to be too off. So I'm just going to tack them to my wall because I don't really have a collection for them to fit into. But from Big Bad Toy Store, I did buy... They have the new Boba Fett as featured in The Mandalorian. And I got them and I opened them without even really thinking about it. I got them, I opened them up, and I was like, oh yeah.
What did I do?
I wasn't opening these. But now that I've opened it, I might go back and open Cara Dune and Mandalorian. But here's Boba.
She might be worth some money now, though.
Yeah.
She got booted.
Yeah, I won't get into all that.
Yeah.
But she had some questionable politics.
Yeah. No, that's a really nice figure.
Yeah, he's fun. So there's not a whole lot to be said about him. He's 3 3/4. He's designed to look like a cheap figure from the 80s. He's got 2 little pistols, which is more than most figures got in the 80s. And I was curious if his rocket would fire on his backpack.
Does it?
It does not. Damn it. But yeah, he's kind of got these like parachute pants on, and he's a fun figure. So I might do a quick review of him. I might splice that into here because he doesn't really fit in with any of the other videos I'm planning on doing. So here's just a quick, closer look at the Retro Collection Boba Fett outside of the packaging. So there's not a whole lot more to say about this guy because he is pretty simple in execution. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to take a closer look at the sculpt because it's a pretty nice little sculpt as far as these simplified little Kenner-style figures go. I think he looks great. And, this outfit has actually really grown on me. Like, we've had, 40 years to kind of get used to Boba Fett's original costume. So seeing him in something different was a little jarring at first. But I actually quite like this. So, yeah, you see he's got the 2 guns. So he's got one larger gun and one smaller pistol. The pants, or the legs, kick forward, backwards. The head turns from side to side. That's pretty much all he does. Now I do have not the retro Boba Fett, but the actual vintage Boba Fett from the 80s. So here is the original figure. So, I really like this figure. Everybody loves this figure. This is like an iconic action figure. And, it's still pretty great. I still love it. But, it's something about the colors of this new one. It feels very new and vibrant. Like, even when this one was brand new, it never looked quite this, shiny and new, I don't think. Like, the colors are just kind of a little duller anyway. But yeah, I really like the brightness of this guy. He really looks, I don't know, new. And obviously he is new. But yeah, I just really like the way he looks. But I do think it's really cool how you can kind of intermingle these toy lines, an action figure from 40 years ago with an action figure that just came out last week, and they look like they belong in the same world. You can't really do that with G.I. Joes and Transformers. They look clearly different. So yeah, I really get a kick out of this retro line. I think it's really neat. Okay, so that was our review of something. Batman and a couple other things.
And some Marvel stuff from the Hasbro Pulse sale.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We went long tonight, so we're editing this into 2 separate videos. So I apologize if the editing seems a little choppy, because some of the stuff I'm going to just shimmy over into the next episode. So be sure to tune in for that, which will probably be posted just a day or 2 after this one goes up. So, yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. Leave comments. They're not leaving comments.
Maybe it's me.
Well, even you're not leaving comments. Well, you used to leave comments before you came on the show. Now you don't send me comments anymore. I might have to kick you off just so you get...
I'll start leaving comments again. Well, I left one last night on the...
Was that... Did you send me a message? Did you leave a message on the video?
No, I commented on the video. I said Jitsu looked like he was about to pull a Will Smith and slap a bitch.
Oh, I didn't see that comment, so I don't know. I didn't get the notification. But please, comment, ask us questions, let us know how we're doing. I don't think we did very good today, but that's okay. But anyway, questions, comments, like, subscribe. Any other commands? No. Alright, I'm curious to see how he's going to sign this one off. I'll stick with my usual. I'll see you next time. Ciao.
Stay cool.